This morning, I had the privilege to lead and participate in Parshat HaShavua study group, which is every Saturday from 8:30 to 9:30 in the back. And it's not every week that I do lead or participate. It's largely led by congregants, teaching congregants. And if you haven't gone, I encourage you to go once. Actually, I encourage you to go 3 times, knowing that if you go 3 times, you'll find that it's really enjoyable and worthwhile. This morning, in our hour of discussion and analysis, we looked at those verses that dealt with Jacob's transformation to Israel. And in looking at those verses closely, what one becomes aware of is how artfully it's written, how ambiguously it's written. So it's often not clear who's fighting with whom, who's winning, let alone bigger questions like, who is the individual that Jacob is wrestling with? In Hebrew, the word is ish, a man. If I was to ask us, who was he wrestling with? Reflexively, I would anticipate most would raise their hand and say an angel. But the word used in the text itself is an ish, a man. And later, in summing up, it will say, in giving the name of Yisrael, you sarita, an ambiguous word, which can either mean sarita, were victorious, wrestled with, took responsibility, were straight with, Elohim ve'anashim, with God and men, and therefore your name will be Yisrael. So even what the name Yisrael means is many possibilities. And it says, because you were with God panim el panim, face to face, so this place will be known as Peniel. And I pointed out to the group that face, unlike other parts of the body, is always in the plural. So a yad is singular, or yerach, a thigh, is singular. You can point to it. But panim, face, is faces, which is to say, in being panim el panim, face to face with God, Jacob's face is multifaceted, multi-faced. So what I'd like to do, but just for a moment, is where we stopped in our study today and explore, as we did in our study, a bit with Bibliodrama. Bibliodrama means to give ourselves permission to be in the moment, enter into a story, and allow our intuition to guide us, to fill in the gaps. There are so many gaps in those verses. It's so artfully composed. And one of the questions that we were left with was, why does Jacob get injured? Afterwards, he will limp. Why is he injured? Who did he wrestle with? And what does it mean for him going forward? So I want to do just a brief imagining at that point where the story ends, before Jacob meets Esav. That will happen next. He is now wounded. When you're wounded, your focus naturally goes to that place of pain. And so in this moment, as the sun is rising, I am not focused on the land and the beauty of sunrise. I am simply aware of my pain. My hip is displaced. I have tried taking some steps, and as I do, it's excruciating. I know that this is a new dawn, literally, for me. And yet I am unsure as to what the new day will bring. For later this day, I will see my brother Esav. I have never been able to look Esav in the eyes. From the moment we were born, somehow he was looking away. And more, all I was seeing is his ankles as I grabbed on. And so my name is Ben Yaakov, the one who grabbed onto the heel. The one whose name Yaakov means circumventer. I not only never really looked my brother in the eye, on some level I never looked my father in the eye because I knew that my father always loved Esav more than me. Frankly, I never quite looked my mother in the eye either because I always felt that she was working out her issues with my father through me. And therefore, I never saw her looking at me as my own person. And so I could never look her in the eye as if I was an I. And so I take another step, and my focus goes to my hip. You know, a hip is that which allows us to turn. A hip is that which allows us to move forward. And somehow in this dramatic moment, I am in pain to turn. I am in pain to move forward, which also means in ways that are different than my past, I stand firmly in this moment. I am not turning. I am not Yaakov, the one who circumvents. I can't turn. I stand. And I know that in a moment or two or an hour or two, I will meet the man whom I have most avoided, my brother. And when I meet him, I am unsure of what will happen. I don't know what just happened. All night I was alone. What I know is that throughout the last part of this night, I literally wrestled in the dust, la'avok. It's like my name, Yaakov, la'avek. Somehow, I who am from the dust return to the dust with a stranger, with an ish. And I know I am changed, but I don't know how. Ribono Shalom, Master of the universe, as we move forward in our lives, we are B'nai Yisrael, the children of Israel. The one whose journey in life was to stand without needing to turn. The one whose life allowed him to confront, to become Yisrael. The one whose name embodies ambiguity, Yashar El, the one who can be straight, confronting, the one who in being straight and confronting can be Sarita, victorious, and the one who in the course of seeking victory can wrestle with whatever life presents to him. Jacob became Israel, but Israel was afterwards also Jacob. For unlike Abraham, who had a name change of a letter, or Sarah, of but a letter, in this case, Jacob was given a whole new name, but not a name that ever stuck as his only name. He would always be Yaakov or Yisrael, interchangeably or distinctively. Like a vase that falls and has a crack, and the vase is put together. In this moment of wrestle, Jacob would be transformed into Israel, but with a crack. Never fully the wholeness of Jacob who could swivel, but thereafter the Israel who could be direct, who could fight, and who could live with honesty. Ribono Shel Olam, Master of the universe, may we risk injury for integrity. Amen.